Coming up on First at 4, a doctor in Letcher County lost her office during the flooding, but that has not stopped her from serving patients in the area. And Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell returns to Eastern Kentucky, talking with local leaders and flood survivors.
And some toasty temperatures have returned this afternoon. I've got the latest on what it means for tonight and what that holiday weekend looks like coming up as Mountain News First at 4 starts right now.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News First at 4.
Good afternoon, I'm Steve Hensley. First at 4, Fleming Neon got around 10 feet of water at one point during the July flood, destroying homes, businesses, and churches. WYMT's Chandler Wilcox tells us about one local doctor that lost her office but is still seeing patients.
Dr. Brenda Baker has been taking care of this community for 30 years. Floodwater reached her ceiling tiles, and she lost everything in her office.
We knew we couldn't go back in the building we were at, so we decided to buy this travel trailer, and so we went to Ashland, got it the next day, brought it down here, and we've been working out of this for probably 3 weeks or so.
Even a month after the flood, mud still covers Dr. Baker's office. In order to see patients, she bought a camper to serve as a temporary home.
We got deep roots here. We're not going anywhere else.
Now Dr. Baker says they plan to stay in the camper for a few more weeks and then move into the double wide permanently once it is finished. At Neon, Chandler Wilcox, WYMT Mountain News.
We'll have more on the impact Dr. Brenda Baker's office has on the community coming up at 6. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell was in Eastern Kentucky today. His first stop was at the Flood Distribution Center at the old J.C. Penney in Hazard. He talked with flood survivors and thanked volunteers for their help. He later met with local leaders in a closed-door meeting at Hazard City Hall. There, they heard from a flood survivor, and the senator says her testimony was emotional.
This is going to take a long time. So I think the challenge for people who are in positions like all of us is to stay the course. Stay the course.
FEMA officials also spoke at the news conference. They say so far FEMA representatives have gone to 777 homes for inspections. And we learned today more than $100 million federal dollars has now been approved for assistance.
Well, if you've stepped out the door today, you've felt the difference in the air as we've gone through the daytime hours. It's much more warm, it's much more muggy, and that will lead to an increase in showers and storms as we head into the weekend. Outside right now from the WYMT studios, out the front door, mid-80s right now. It is much, much warmer. Same thing from Buffalo Mountain. The sunshine, we were talking about this last night. At times, more clouds than sun out there right now. Temperatures are warmer, middle and upper 80s. How about 88 Manchester and Somerset, as well as Jonesville, Virginia right now. So very warm temperatures returning to the region. Dew points are much more moist out there, quite frankly. Upper 60s to near 70, so that summer feel is back. And we're already watching a couple of spotty storms trying to get going in parts of the Cumberland Valley, centered right around Mount Vernon right now, seeing some showers and really downpours, not much lightning with those. But in any case, if you're headed out this evening, please keep an eye on the radar because you will have that possibility for a spotty storm. 86 at 5, 77, 9 o'clock, and down into the low 70s, very muggy as we run through tonight. Details on when we could see some heavy rain return coming up in a few minutes. Steve?
All right, thank you, Evan. Today, a former Lexington nurse charged with the murder of her patient faced a judge for the first time. A Fayette County grand jury indicted Yvette Hunter last Monday. Officers arrested her the next day. She's accused of killing James Morris after an incident April 30th. Her nursing license was suspended, and the suspension order gave more details about what happened. The document said while Hunter was working as a nurse at Baptist Health Lexington, she was in charge of former World War II veteran James Morris. The 97-year-old patient became agitated. Hunter requested medicine to calm him down. Hunter gave Morris lorazepam, which she told another employee was something special. The medication caused Morris's oxygen level to drop. He also developed pneumonia, was placed into hospice care, and died 5 days later. Hunter was fired by Baptist Health the day of the incident. Her indictment says she's being held on a $100,000 bond. President Biden addressed the nation from Philadelphia on Thursday night in a speech focusing on what he calls the battle for the soul of the nation. The president called out former President Trump and his supporters numerous times and accused the Republican Party of being intimidated by them. CBS's Natalie Brand reports from the White House.
In a fiery primetime speech from Philadelphia, President Biden warned of what he says is a real threat to American democracy.
I ran for president because I believe we're in a battle for the soul of this nation. I still believe that to be true.
The president called out former President Trump by name Thursday night and accused Trump's supporters of extremism.
MAGA Republicans do not respect the Constitution. They do not believe in the rule of law. They do not recognize the will of the people. They refuse to accept the results of a free election.
While President Biden said not all Republicans fall into this category, GOP leaders called the president's remarks divisive. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, speaking from President Biden's hometown of Scranton earlier Thursday, also took aim at the president's handling of the economy.
Fact, real income. What you take home after inflation and taxes is lower now than when Joe Biden took office.
The dueling speeches in a key battleground state come a little more than 2 months from midterm elections, with Labor Day weekend kicking off the final sprint to November.
Joe Biden is right. Democracy is on the ballot in November.
As your president, I will defend our democracy with every fiber of my being, and I'm asking every American to join me.
A new CBS News poll finds 72% of Americans believe democracy is under threat, a figure that has remained high since Trump supporters stormed the Capitol on January 6th. Topping the list of reasons why, influence of money in politics, and also the potential for political violence, which concerns most Americans across party lines. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, the White House.
Former President Trump is traveling to Pennsylvania this weekend for his first rally of the general election. The former president will be in Pittsburgh on Labor Day. Employers have not been as gung-ho about hiring people during the past few weeks, but the need for more workers is still rising slightly. The latest government report says the U.S. added 315,000 jobs in August. That's higher than what many economists had expected, but it's still noticeably lower than the 526,000 positions in July. Last month's job report will be among the main factors the Federal Reserve will discuss as it determines how much to raise interest rates as a way to stave off inflation. During the past few months, the Fed has been fighting the highest inflation rate in 4 decades by boosting rate hikes. Earlier this week, the Bureau of Labor Statistics reported there were nearly 2 jobs available per every person looking for work. More Americans are expected to travel during the Labor Day weekend compared to a year ago, with AAA saying bookings for air travel, cars, cruises, hotels, and tours are up 22% from 2021. Passengers arrived at Reagan National Airport this morning optimistic about their flight status and travel experience. So far this year, airlines have canceled about 146,000 flights, or 2.6% of all flights, and nearly 1.3 million flights have been delayed. That's according to tracking service FlightAware. About 55,000 flights have been canceled in the U.S. in just the last 7 days alone.
Yeah, not really, because we done flown probably once a month every month for the last probably 7 or 8 months, so it hasn't been too bad for us. We had a couple delays, nothing significant.
Germany's flag carrier Lufthansa announced it will cancel roughly 800 flights today, impacting about 130,000 passengers due to a one-day strike by its pilots union. Airline spokespeople have consistently pointed to staffing shortages as the cause of flight delays and cancellations. Coming up on First at 4, Sports Director John Lowe takes us inside the locker room for a look at tonight's key high school football matchups.
But first, hot and humid weather has returned to the mountains as we continue to see showers and storms work toward the region as well. Latest details straight ahead.
Waking up in the morning with a sore jaw, headaches, maybe even ringing in your ears, all because you're